薄いのアホ。プリズムパワーメイクアップオーカードレディー。
Welcome to Shoujo and Tell, where we discuss shoujo manga and tell who's hot and who's not, talk about themes, and just generally geek out. Today, February 11th, 2018, we'll be shoujo and telling about the first half of the series We Were There by Yuki Obata. So that's volumes 1 through 8. I'm your host, Ashley McDonald, and I'm joined by a special guest, Nancy Thistlethwaite, who's the senior editor of Viz Media's Shojo Beat line. Hi, Nancy.
Hi.
All right, so you want to tell a little more about yourself? How long have you worked at Viz? I'm so curious.
I started in 2005.
Okay, so you've done a lot of shoujoing.
Yes, I started basically around the time that Shoujo, the magazine, came out. And yeah, I've just been there ever since. So I work mostly on shoujo manga, although currently I'm also doing some craft books, some amigurumi, Japanese patterns we have coming out, and Pom Pom Pokemon.
Oh yeah, I have seen you be tweeting about that, yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to do something a little bit new and different too. There's a lot of knitters and crocheters who love Japanese patterns who haven't been able to get them. So that's one of my special projects.
All right, great. Well, so when I asked you which manga you wanted to do, you said We Were There, and you said that you had edited and adapted it. So, like, what was that like?
It was great. I mean, I really wanted to do this series. And one of the special things about it, I think, was that everybody working on the series just really loved it. And it was really important to them. The translator, the letterer, and I, and even the copy editor, we would talk about each volume as it came out. And it was a good experience. It was a special, not all shoujo is that way.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, so obviously this is available from Viz. Is it still in print, or is it, I assume it's available digitally, but...
Yeah, it is still in print. However, if you're thinking about picking it up, I would pick it up soon. Manga does not stay in print forever. So there's always, we get a lot of fans who come and ask, why can't I get this series that was published 15 years ago?
Yeah.
Books just don't stay in print forever, and they don't stay in print in Japan. We had certain shoujo manga that was in print here, but not in print anymore in Japan. So there's a shelf life, that it ends at some point. And this series now is, started a decade ago. So
yeah,
it's getting up there.
Yeah. So do you want to give a brief plot synopsis of what We Were There is about?
Okay, well, it's a love story, and it's about a girl named Nanami who falls in love with Yano, and he's got a lot of baggage. He is still grieving his first girlfriend who died the year before. And I think the first few lines of volume 1 just sum up the series completely. So she tells you in the very beginning what it's going to be about. And do you want me to read those lines?
Oh, sure. Do you have them available? Yeah, I have like the stack, but I'm like, oh no, volume 1's on the bottom.
At the time he was 15 years old, and now he's only 16. But the reality he must face is far greater than youth will allow. And that sums up what is going on. So,
yeah, and I think it ends on a similar note where we left off in volume 8.
Yeah, volume 8 is brutal. The ending of
yeah, I was like, no, how can this be? Okay, we'll get there. Yeah, so just before moving to all those spoilers, I wanted to ask you, like, what makes the series so special? Like, why were you all so gung-ho about it when you were working on it?
I think she's a brilliant writer, and it's not something you come across all the time, that there's this depth of characterization and reality. And she does have a beautiful lyrical quality also to her writing. Mm-hmm. So I think just everybody, it's something that really hits you, I think. And I think everybody felt that kind of impact. It's a very true story that tries to be very pure and raw at the same time.
Yeah, I would agree with that in a way that, like, we did Tokyo Tarareba Girls on this podcast recently, and we were both like, oh, it's so relatable, but that's josei, so it's relatable to stuff that's more currently happening to me. But reading this, I was like, I'm back in high school, and I was exactly all these things happened to me in high school, or something reminiscent of those things happened to me in high school. And I was like, it hurts so much because it's so real. I can't deal with this.
Yeah, anybody who has gone through first love, this is you're gonna find something in there, that will remind you.
Yeah, even on a level of just the way they fight with each other as friends was really painful and stuff. Yeah. I was just like, oh, I can't, but also I love it because this dark type of story is exactly what I love. And then I guess this question can go before we go full spoilers, but how does the series hold up compared to when you first read it, since you had mentioned that you hadn't read it in a while?
Right. I have not read it since I stopped working on it. I can't remember when the last volume came out, but I've forgotten a lot.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I realized, I didn't know where certain things happened. Mm-hmm. But because I did work on it, when I start getting to certain lines, I'm like, oh, I know what's coming. It's, mm-hmm. And I still have the same emotions that I did when I read it previously. So I think that it is really strong and it does hold up over time.
Mm-hmm. Was there anything new that stood out to you this time? Or was it basically you're just like, oh no, I remember this devastating thing that's about to happen?
I think certain narratives hit me differently than they did before. Things that I didn't think were as important before, perhaps, or didn't resonate as much with me, now do. So there's definitely, I think you can read it at different ages and find different things in it. Yano's mother right now, I think, because that starts happening towards the end, mm-hmm. I suddenly have different, impressions than I did before with what she's saying. I think there's just so much in there. I think we have to delve deep, right?
Yeah. All right, we'll be spoilers now. So sure, if you haven't read this, you should maybe not listen. But also, we are only covering the first half. Then again, the second half is very different. So I don't know. You do you, listeners. You've been warned. Hey, just a quick little post-production note that if you found the premise of We Were There intriguing and you haven't read it before, you can read a free preview on Viz.com or in Viz's apps. So yeah, if you're at all intrigued before listening to the spoiler rest of this episode, you should go read the free preview and see if it's your jam. All right, now back to the regularly scheduled episode here.
The first half is the high school arc, and the second half is the college working world arc.
Yeah.
So we say that this story basically spans about a decade of the characters' lives.
Yeah, and I was curious about that in a way that if they become college/working adults, does that make it josei? What's the cutoff here? How is this story normal?
Right. It's Nana kind of started that way too, right? They were just mm-hmm. fresh out of, or I guess they had just started college, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, this one doesn't really follow rules, just the normal rules. Mm-hmm. It did appear in a shoujo magazine, but it went on longer. And I think, there are shoujo magazines that do delve into college and high after at times, but it's not the norm.
Yeah, and I would assume that those would be shorter things, not half of the series takes place in college.
Right.
Yeah. So strange. It's so strangely wonderful. I love it. Yeah, and then I guess my last question before we go, explain all the heart-wrenching scenes and how they affected us was just that, this isn't a 16-volume series, so I would assume that it had a lot of popularity, at least in Japan, but from what I could tell, it was maybe tepid in America. Is that true? Do you have a...
Yeah, I have. It wasn't probably as popular, obviously, as it was in Japan. It was huge in Japan. Mm-hmm. I did want to go back to one point, though, I think, which for readers that have not approached the series, mm-hmm. and this also goes into, I think, why the American market views it differently. Mm-hmm. But this story isn't a tragedy. It's about characters who go through a tragedy and come out the other side. And I think that's kind of important because a lot of people have a notion that, oh my God, it's going to be something else. And that's what I think is one of the reasons why people may be hesitant to pick it up. The first reason was when we released it, there was a glut of manga on the market. So I was looking at one of my old editions, and we used to have everything that came out. Oh my God, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. There were 12, 1, 2, 3. There were 12 other books, volumes of just shoujo manga, not manga in general, just shoujo manga coming out that month.
That month. Okay.
Yeah. So in that single month, there were 12 other series. And I remember for the magazine, we couldn't even give it a full preview because we didn't have enough pages. There were just too many other previews to do. And I feel like that first chapter, you really need to see the full arc. You need to see Yano and Nanami having that discussion on the rooftop to understand where the story's going. Otherwise, it's just, oh, it's this girl who wants to make friends in high school.
Yeah.
So that was part of it. At the same time, there was a huge, Pure Love was huge. And like stories like Be With You, there was a lot of stuff coming out at the time in Japan about people, they were melodramas. And it was usually about someone who was dying of a horrible, long illness. And it's, you know, this kind of genre of pure love where love is everlasting after that person is gone. And I think a lot of people mistakenly tagged this series as, you know, oh, one of the main characters is going to die, and this is 16 volumes of this person being dead, you know, kind of. So that was also there. And then I think the third thing that probably made it a little bit difficult is that 99% of manga and anime have, you know, the characters are certain archetypes, right? You know, there's like the Megane, right? He's going to have glasses. He's going to be a little bit snide and conniving and intelligent. There's the prince, you know, he's going to be, you know, wealthy and good looking, but also a little bit silly. You know, we have those things. And I would say even in shonen manga, you know, you have a character and you have one flashback sequence, right, for this character, and then you know his reason for living, right? Like everything is only based on that one thing, and that character is that one archetype. But in We Were There, you can start reading it and just start thinking, oh God, this guy Yano, he's a jerk, right?
Totally.
But that's not all of who he is, right? Or Onanami's like this really innocent girl. But all of the characters are super multifaceted, and they go through huge development. And I think, you know, when fans are just getting into it, they want to classify it and go, oh, this is that, which it's not. You have to give it some time to realize where it's going. So those, I think, are the reasons why, you know, We Were There had a little bit of a hard time.
Well, I hope that people now go and read it because I think it deserves the love. Yeah, I mean, I went into it not knowing anything about it. That's kind of my style, is like people tell me to read things and I'm like, okay, I'm not even gonna read a summary. I'm just gonna like go for it and see what happens. And so for me going into it, I was just like, I feel like this is very different than what I would have expected from a shoujo manga, because yeah, it didn't have any archetypes, and I was just like, I don't feel like somebody like Yano, who is a little bit of a bad boy but like has a good heart, and kind of you do hate him like Nanami does in the beginning, but you're also like, oh, he's kind of a nice guy. I don't know. I was just like, oh, I'm so torn. I feel like you're not normally like that in shoujo manga. You're just like, I like this character archetype, therefore I like this incarnation of that archetype, I guess.
Right. And I think what it's really showing is how events influence people's actions and what they're inactive about, what they can't do, and what they can do. And what we're seeing is, you know, this boy who is grieving and doesn't know how to handle it in the beginning, you know. So I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, so instead of doing like a traditional walkthrough and us giving opinions on what has happened, I just wrote down the moments where I was just like, what kind of like holy crap moments is what I called them. And I don't know if they struck you. I guess we can discuss that. That's the whole point. But yeah, see, so not knowing what this was about in the beginning, like volume 1, there are many exchanges where it seems like it should be like a little bit of a silly, sort of innocuous question, but then Yano responds in like a whoa kind of ways. So like Nana and him are just like having a conversation, and Nana asks, what would you do if a girl cheated on you? And Yano just says, I'd kill her. And I was like, whoa. It's before you know that he has had a girlfriend who died in an accident. That's made clear soon after, and I was like, oh, okay, I understand now. But when I first read that, I was just like, what is happening? Oh boy.
Well, people also say that offhand, right? Like, oh, I'll kill you if you know.
Yeah.
So when you're not quite sure what to make out of it, and then you realize later that this boy is carrying around a lot of guilt for something that wasn't his fault.
Yeah, like he actually blames himself and kind of thinks that he killed Nanami.
Because he couldn't save her.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, there's plenty of characters like Bakugo in My Hero Academia is always threatening to kill people, but this one came off as like, okay, wait, pause. I don't feel like you said that in a joking way.
No, and I think Yuki Obata wants you, she's very precise in what she wants you. She wants you to be unsettled in that scene.
I was very unsettled.
Yeah.
Good job. It worked. And then similarly, like later, they're having a conversation after Nana, runs away and is like accusing him of something. And they're having a little banter, and then eventually ends it with like, my mom doesn't have an Audi. My mom is a whore. And my girlfriend was a bitch. That's right. She was with another guy when the accident happened. Her ex-boyfriend. And I was just like, wait, now your mom has issues too? Like, and then it takes a while for the mom stuff to like actually be any front and center in the story. So for the whole time, as I was reading like 5 volumes, I was just like, but when are we going to get to like why he thinks this of his mom? Like, I'm so curious.
Right. I think she's very good at pacing, and she's like a master of flashbacks. So everything is, I wouldn't say it's slowly revealed, but everything has a certain dramatic reveal, right? Mm-hmm. So you first realize that, he's had this girlfriend who, and I would like to talk a little bit about Nana-san too, because she is, someone who, she has an abusive boyfriend. She's older than him. She's had 7 boyfriends before. Mm-hmm. He falls in love with her, and he's trying to help her and save her. And yet she's cheating on him. She's pushing him into a role that he isn't, that he just isn't that kind of person, Mm-hmm. So there's just, he's trying to cope in this situation where he doesn't have the power in this relationship. It's really all with Nana-san. So when this happens, I think when he's talking about, oh, it's your fault, he's trying to come to terms with what's going on, right?
Yeah, his relationship with Nana-san is just so, like, I love that, what we're introduced to in the beginning of this story is just a grieving Yano, but you don't really know that, so you kind of think that this is just default Yano. And then at a certain point, once Nanami and him have started going out, and then they dig deeper into his feelings, and they have this breaking point where they like break up for a little while. But then the moment of him coming to terms with those feelings of like, I really was in love with Nana-san, and I really wish that she was here still. And, like, I so regret that, because the whole time all of his friends are like, I've never seen him cry about this. Like, it's so weird. You'd think he'd be a little bit sad. So that breaking point, and then just, it kind of seems like it's kind of troubling, because then we as readers are kind of introduced to this whole new Yano. Like, it feels like his personality has done a little bit of a 180. Not completely, but just, like, a little bit. And I was like, it's so realistic, though. Like, that is how, because we're just introduced to him at a point in his life where we didn't know what he was like before. Oh, it's too much for me.
Yeah, I think, and then of course, what happens once he opens up to Nanami is she dumps him.
I know.
So when he tells her his true feelings about what happened with Nana-san, that he really did love this girl, he gets dumped.
Aw. Well, because then she's like, yeah, you're not over Nanami, or Nana-san. So hard to have the same name. I keep messing it up.
Yeah. Nana-chan and Nana-san. Definitely honorifics needed to be in this series.
Well, I keep trying to make Nana-chan be Nanami, and then the other one just Nana, but it's still not working. No, I'm still messing it up.
Yeah, I think, Nanami, we haven't talked much about Nanami yet. She has a really strong backbone. That's one of the things I think too, reading through this, is how much I really love Nanami as a character. She can be a leader when she needs to be. She's never going to let Yano just get his way, right?
Yeah.
But she also has to face she has to face that she isn't his first love, although he's hers. And she has to become more confident. And what's going on really isn't a problem with Yano. It's a problem with herself and how she views herself. I think, she can't handle the situation yet because she doesn't have enough confidence in feeling that Yano will truly love her.
Yeah, he's like, she thinks like, he just views her as a shadow replacement of Nana-san, which is a fair interpretation based on what has happened, but
that's why the ending, I think, because I just finished rereading volume 8 last night, what he tells her right before he leaves, that's so great.
Yeah.
Validation, yes.
On the note of her having a backbone, there was one scene where I don't remember the specifics of what was happening, but Yano did something that upset Nanami. So he's like, don't you understand like why I did this kind of little bit terrible thing? And she's like, and then he's like, don't you forgive me? And she doesn't say yes or no. She's just like, but what you did was still, like, right now is still bad. Like, it's not a matter of whether I'll forgive you or whatever. It's just a matter of the action that you did was still wrong. And I was like, yes, Nanami, thank you for not just automatically being like, oh, sure, I'll forgive you. I'll forgive your jealousies.
There's also the other side of that really struck me when, I can't remember the exact scene, but I think it's early on, mm-hmm. And when he tells her, anything that I say that you don't agree with, you reject me. That happens pretty early on, but, whenever he really does open up to her and she's not happy about it, she does reject him too, right?
It's true, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in this.
I mean, it has the obvious, not obvious, but, it has a lot of moments where Nanami will think, like, why doesn't he understand my feelings? But it's very clear that she also does not understand his feelings, and that's kind of the prime conflict between, because there are many love triangles by the end of this, and that becomes a prime conflict between her and Yamamoto, because Yamamoto, who is Nana-san's sister, is kind of like, well, I knew Yano before and during and after mm-hmm. my sister was dead, so therefore I must know him better than you. And I'm just like, no, that's just a fundamental misunderstanding of humans, but okay.
Yeah, I have to say, Yuki Obata is a great writer because I hate Yuri. I hate her so much.
Oh, yeah? Oh, wow.
I hated her, but then in the second half, I can't really hate her anymore. And I remember talking to the copy editor at the time, too, and we were just like, how could our opinion of her change so drastically? But yeah, there's a lot that goes on with Yuri as well. Yeah, I think one of the things that really strikes me talking about the themes in this book is that she really delves into the question of, when do you give up on someone? Mm-hmm. Right? Like, who do you cut out of your life and who do you keep in it? Even knowing that you're never going to quite see eye to eye or you're never going to fully understand one another.
Yeah, I guess that's like, I don't know if I ever hated Yuri. I'm just kind of like, I definitely didn't like her because it's not full hate. It's just like, you're not my favorite character, right? Like, I understand where you're
She manipulates Yano. I can't really I have a hard time with her manipulating Yano, and she does it obviously when they sleep together.
Yeah.
And she also does it later. She actually does it a couple of times because she does know what she's doing. Yano may not completely understand why he's acting out as he does, but she knows.
Yeah.
So maybe I assign her more responsibility in that aspect.
No, I think that is the one thing that I really disliked about the way it was portrayed. You know, the thing that I disliked the most of the way that she came off, or that it was written, was that there's a lot of blame pinned on Yano for them sleeping together after the death of Nana-san. But I'm like, but you agreed to it too, Yuri. Like, you can't just be like, oh, Yano, you're such a jerk for doing this after my sister died. And I'm like, but you also did it after your sister died. Like, that's just, you both are wrong.
Right.
But it definitely felt like Yano was taking more of the blame there. And I was like, no.
Right. And the other thing is, all these characters really care about each other. You know, even Yano cares about Yuri, right?
Yeah.
And so they're all trying their best. But yeah, it's an interesting dynamic how strained their relationship is, and yet they still do care a lot about each other.
Yeah, it's just Yuri, I'm like, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen in the second half, but I'm just like, she doesn't get together with Yano, right? Like, that's not... Does that happen? Oh my god. Okay.
She's crafty. I'm just going to say that.
Oh, no! Wow. All right, cool.
So is, and we haven't really talked about Take yet.
Yeah.
And he also... I know there's a lot of like Takeuchi Nanami shippers, especially when it was coming out. And actually, the copy editor was Takeuchi shipper as well. But I have issues with him as well. But I think I'll wait until the second half to talk about why he's pretty. You know, all these characters are flawed and.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again, my problem with Takeuchi is like not that I hate him. It's just that in this first half, at least, I don't really understand. I feel like he doesn't have any seeming problems other than being constantly apparently in love with people that his best friend goes out with.
Exactly. You see that he was actually in love with Nana-san too.
Yeah, I'm like, what are you doing, bro? Get a personality.
And it's always after Yano is involved with them.
Yeah.
Yes. You see, I think we're going to be on the same page in the second half.
Oh, good. Yeah. And I'm just like, I don't want to say that, you know, Yano's has a personality because he has so many tragedies that happen to him. That's not fair. Like, Taka probably has his own problems that are just not revealed. Like, you don't have to have a tragic past to always just have issues that you can show in a meaningful way. But I'm just like, your one problem is that you keep falling in love with your girlfriend's kind of weird, Taka.
Yeah, there is something also to be said about, you know, definitely Nana-san and Yuri have a difficult home life, and so does Yano. But Takeuchi and Nanami have a pretty solid, you know, background, home environment that they grow up in. So they're more of the supporters in this series, right?
Yeah.
Whereas these other kids are really struggling to make it.
Yeah. Oh, these characters. I love them. I hope the best for them, but also I'm like, no.
We should also probably mention that there is a lot of humor in the series too.
Oh yeah.
I love the banter between Nanami and Yano. They're pretty hilarious. And there was a lot of slang in the Japanese as well. So normally as an editor, I don't like having too much slang because it really dates a book once you put it in.
Yeah.
But this way, there was no way not to do that. But yeah, some of the conversations they have are just really hilarious. You can tell why they have this bond.
Yeah. No, I really found their banter really cute, especially when they first started going out and they were like fighting over which sauces are better or something. I was like, this scene is great. I don't know. Because he just like sneaks up behind her and is like, Worcester sauce. Like, drag you away now. And I was just like, I love you, Yano. You're great.
I love how conservative Nanami is, and she's like unrepentant about it. You know, like she wants him to meet her mom. You know, like
Oh,
usually
yeah.
shoujo manga, it's like the parents, we must meet, you know, your suitor kind of thing.
Yeah.
And she's just like, no, I want you to meet my mom and I'm going to make you come.
Yeah, and he's like, you tricked me.
Exactly. Or, you know, even their discussions about sex, which are, you know, she's like, don't you have anything else on your mind? And she's so, yeah, she's really great in that she can kind of dish it out too.
Yeah. No, I loved their discussion about, like, Yano was going on about how he had the condom in his pocket wallet for 3 months, and he's like, and then he just starts speaking in, like, old school English or whatever, like, won't you give me a reason to use it or something? And she's just like, you sound really cheesy. Like, bye. Nah. And I'm glad that there was never a scene where Yano kept, even though he clearly wanted to have sex with her, there was never a scene where it felt like he was going to rape her or something, which I feel is also fairly common in shoujo manga, sadly.
Yeah, I don't think current shoujo manga has those kinds of scenes as much anymore.
That's true.
And I would argue that especially now there's like this super innocent theme in a lot of shoujo where it's, you know, to the point where the heroine doesn't realize, what is love? Is this love? You know, where most people would realize when they're in love. It's like that level of innocence going on.
It's swung really hard the other way is what we're saying.
Right. And this one I just feel is absolutely real.
Yeah.
You know, like when other books stop where it's like, okay, this scene is going to end here, you know, Yuki Obata is going to push it and be like, okay, but why did this happen? And she just keeps going for the truth when I think usually, you know, that scene would end a lot earlier, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love the ending scene where they're at the hot spring and they get drunk, and
right.
the art that happens there and their conversations, I was like, wow, this is really pushing it. First of all, they're drunk.
Right.
Second of all, they're like being like, you're gonna cheat on me, aren't you?
I think that scene is really interesting in that, you know, it's their last night together, right? He's moving away. Mm-hmm. It's their one time alone. And they end up getting drunk and just kind of having a brawly conversation and don't do what you expect is going to happen. Like, it just kind of happens that way. Just like life kind of doesn't really go as you plan it, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's too good. I tell you.
Oh, I'm so glad you like it. That's great.
Yeah.
Hey.
I really liked it. Yeah. I also really liked the use of like photography and the scenes in which it comes up in this manga. Maybe that's weird, but like, you know, in the very beginning, I thought the scene was a little strange, but in the very beginning, Nana and Yano go to like a photo booth. Yano's like walking her home from their hangout or whatever. And they're having this really heart-to-heart conversation. And so in the panels where they're talking really like a lot to each other about really heartfelt things, like about Nana-san dying and stuff, they just are kind of looking at each other and look very forlorn. But then as soon as the camera goes off, they like smile at it and then keeps going like that for a while. And it's just like, oh, that's cool. And then later photo is used for, you know, Yano uses it as his background was Nana looking for him in a yukata, and then they like delete it and everything, and it becomes like a blackmail sort of deal where Takeuchi's like, I'll give you back the photo if you have a heart-to-heart and tell us about Nana-san or whatever. Right. in a meaningful way. And I just thought that was a good way of showing, you know, photos are a good way to remember things, but they also really mask a lot of the true story, because Nana also tries to like gain knowledge about Nana-san by like looking at photos in their yearbook and all these things, and they're just snapshots of like a larger picture where the more important pictures are perhaps missing.
Yeah, and there's that really heart-crushing line where she's asking Yano to see a picture of his ex-girlfriend, and, you know, he has to confess that he doesn't even have one photo of her.
Yeah.
It's nothing to remember her by. And that's just, yeah.
And then it ends up that they had, like, Nana-chan, like, steals a photo from Yuri that was actually of Yano and Take and Nana-san. And then in the end, that gets torn, which I feel is a much more accurate representation. The torn photo is the most accurate photographic.
Yeah, Yano tears it up, right?
Yeah, because Yano tears it up because he finds it after Nana stole it. Like, he takes her textbook and it just had been in there, and then he's like, no, how? What? Right. So I just loved all those scenes where it kind of broke the normal paneling of manga.
Yeah, and I would say, too, the art gets tremendously better. I think the first volume was probably the first volume, and maybe the second volume was done earlier. You can kind of tell, like, there's this huge progression in the art that starts happening, too. And you do get these, like, really heart-stopping spreads later on.
Yeah. I love keeping track of the art quality via Yano's hair, basically. Like, how it's parted, how stylized it was. I was like, yep, I can see it getting better. See? Look at this. Yeah,
Takeuchi is not, like, he seems like a real side character in the first book because he's not really detailed that much.
Yeah.
And then you get these, like, boom, big Takeuchi faces, like, later on.
Yeah, and I love that I feel like it was, like, canonically, like, I'm gonna make it about their hair, because there is the one point where Takeuchi's like, I don't know, Yano suddenly came in with, like, stylized cool hair one day, so then I had to do it too. And I was just like, what? Okay. Oh, middle school bros. So funny. I love you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty hilarious. I'm going to ask a girl out. I got to go get my hair done.
I got to go get my hair gelled up and styled and stuff. I'm like, all right, cool. So I feel like the manga was asking me to keep track of it through their hair, which is definitely how I read it. Yeah, are there any other, like, specific things that you wanted to bring up?
I think there's just there's so much narrative in here that it is really strong. Mm-hmm. I think when I was going back and reading it, and just the speech that Nanami gives Yano when she goes over to his house, and he's been ditching theater practice for a long time. Mm-hmm. He kind of blocks her, and she's like, okay, well, we really are just classmates. That's all we were. And I thought something was happening, but it was just in my mind. And then she just goes for it. She just decides, because he thanks her for coming, and she realizes it was really important for her to reach out to him. And so then she, puts on this role that, maybe you've lost someone you really, really like, but there are still other people in this world who really, really like you, and I'll always watch over you. And, she just goes for it. And it just really touches him and helps him, because he realizes there's someone out there, who really cares about me and who's thinking about me. And she takes these certain instances, and then you see it's reflected in volume 8 again at the end. And it just goes throughout the manga. She's able to keep these streams of thoughts going, which is really amazing. So, yeah,
because I really like the sort of, is recursive the word I'm looking for? I don't know, but I'm gonna go with it. Of like, they keep making similar mistakes because they remember all these promises that they made, and they're like, oh, I broke it this one time, but like this time I'm not gonna break it. This time I'm gonna remember what I said. And so in the remembering, it's not exactly cyclic, but it's like almost that. And I'm just like, oh, it's too much like real life. Like, you get caught in this cycle of like, I made this promise, but like, you don't fully understand my view of these things. And I don't know, it really hurt me.
Right. And there's a big discussion about how memories like change and are distorted. You know, as you move on, you remember it differently than it actually happened. And then you question, how you really feel and how other people feel. There's another part where, when Nanami first confesses to Yano, and she's like, I like you. And of course, this is right after he's shown her Nana-san's picture, which was an interesting time for her.
Interesting timing, yeah.
Yeah, like, oh, here's my ex-girlfriend. Oh, I like you.
She's your ex, right? It's good.
Oh, that was brutal. Okay. And then she asks if he likes her, and he's like, yes. And then she's like, no, you hesitated. If you hesitated, go out because you don't know. And then, are you sure you really, really like me? And he's so honest, he just has to say, I don't know. But then later he corners her and he's like, are you sure you really, really like me?
Yeah.
And she can't answer. And he's like, see, it's really hard. It's really hard to know how much. And just things are just really amazing. Like, great.
I love that conversation because I always struggle with, especially in this day and age generally, of like you either have to be really, really enthusiastic about everything or you're just like a straight hater. And I'm like, no, I feel like for most things, the proper response is like you either don't know or like you have no strong opinion. And I like that should be true of people too. Like you just be like, I don't know, I guess I like you well enough. And so it was just so touching to me that Yano was like, I can be honest, like maybe I like you, maybe I don't. I'm still figuring that out. And he didn't accuse her of not liking him. He was just like, you don't know how much you like me. Like, you can't quantify it. And I was like, yes. Thank you, Yano. My problematic gangster-ish bro who I love so much.
Yeah, sometimes I think it's good that the characters go through about a decade, because there are times that you just wonder, like, how can these teenagers be so involved in self-knowledge and
Yeah,
they're so cognizant of what's going on and being able to cut through the BS, right? Mm-hmm. Which most people, even as adults, have a hard time dealing with.
Yeah, but I feel like it works well because even though they say a lot of things that cut through those things, their actions still show that they're like, this is really hard to navigate, even when you know those things.
Right.
You can't always act on them given really hard niche situations. Like, oh, well, Yamamoto called me because her mom's in the hospital and like I'd be a jerk if I didn't go, but also I realize I'm being a jerk by blowing off my girlfriend for this really special night, which is like the situation that he's put in. I'm like, yep, you were screwed either way. And
yeah, they definitely go through choices where there's no good answer. There's no easy answer to what they're confronted to.
Yeah. Is there any other specific scenes before we take a not love quiz, #not love quiz?
No, if I forget, I'll bring it up next because we're gonna do the second half, right?
Yeah, we're gonna do the second half.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like it's either we could sit here for like 3 hours going scene by scene and just being like, it was so good, or we could not do that. I am really distraught by. I love that it ends perfectly in the middle with this time skip happening. Yes. At the same time, I'm like, this is a devastating place to end where she doesn't see him for 4 years, apparently. Ugh. Yeah, so now we shall do our silly segment, because, again, this manga does have some silliness, despite its otherwise weighty topics. I feel like a love quiz somehow seemed a little inappropriate. I also just couldn't think of a good angle for it. So then I found a quiz that is, which Disneyland land are you? And I felt that was an appropriate level of silliness, considering there is a whole plot point in which Yano and Nana want to go to, like, on a trip together, and Nana's like, let's go to Disneyland.
Yeah, I think Nanami is a Disney otaku. Teens, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because then later for their school festival, they decide to make a lantern that is in the shape of a Disneyland castle or whatever.
Yeah. And when Yano's trying to get back into her good graces, he convinces the class to do a Disney themed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very important. See, that's how Yano got back into her good graces. Okay, so I suppose we shall take this as Nanami.
Okay. I went to Disneyland last year, but I hadn't been in a long time, so.
So we'll try to remember. I've actually never been to Disneyland. I've only been to Disney World. Does that count? Like.
Okay. I'm sure they have the same rides.
Yeah, right? I'm like, they have to be similar. Right? Yeah, so I will read this flavor text, I guess. which is walking into any of the lands at Disneyland is like being transported to a whole new world. One minute you can be in the future, the next you're in a lost civilization. Everyone has a land that they naturally gravitate to. It could be that it has your favorite ride or snack, or it's just your favorite place to sit and people watch. We thought about it and we realized that each of the lands at Disneyland can tell you something about a person's personality. It might be your favorite or one you never expected, but here is a non-scientific way of figuring out which Disneyland land you are. Okay. And then the first question is, what's the first thing you do when you get to Disneyland? We are Nana. Okay. And the answers are, go straight to my favorite attraction, buy a souvenir, visit the bakery, go straight to get a fast pass, take a picture in front of the castle, listen to the Dapper Dans, get something to eat, take a picture with my favorite character. Oh, so many options, dang.
I'm going to say as Nanami that she would take a picture in front of the castle first.
I agree. I was totally gravitating towards that. Okay. What's your favorite Disneyland snack? Oh, God. Caramel apple, turkey leg, bagnets. Is that? I have no idea if that's how that's said.
Beignet. Yeah.
Beignet. That makes sense because that's a foreign word. Mickey ice cream bar, Dole Whip, pretzel, churro, or popcorn. They must have different ones in Japan, right? I would assume so.
Yeah, I think she wants something sweet, right?
Probably, so churro or caramel or ice cream. Still so many options.
Yeah, maybe the caramel apple, just because it's kind of I don't know if it's a Disneyland treat, but I feel like anything that looked really Disney she would want, right?
Yeah, okay. I can agree. Oh, wow, okay. Pick a pair of Mickey ears. R2-D2, Classic, Minnie Mouse, Cinderella, The Lion King, Jack Skellington, Woody, Duffy.
Minnie Mouse.
Minnie Mouse. What's your favorite Disney song? Oh, God. Hakuna Matata from The Lion King. Part of Your World from The Little Mermaid. Almost There from The Princess and the Frog. I've Got a Dream from Tangled. Whistle Stop from Robin Hood. Little April Showers from Bambi. Strangers Like Me from Tarzan. Married Life from Up. I kind of want to click the Up one just because.
I think she would be a Little Mermaid fan, but I don't know.
But okay, fine. I'll click your Little Mermaid thing. Although
Okay,
I would like.
You can click Up. I don't know.
No, I agree that she'd probably be a fan of Little Mermaid because that makes sense. Because that's how Nanami rolls. Okay. How would your friends describe you? Nostalgic, optimistic, funny, brave, courageous, friendly, relaxed, or a dreamer? I feel like so many of those apply, but okay.
She has some pretty big optimism to be going out with Yano.
That's true, but also a dreamer. That one's pretty good.
Yeah, that one's good too. I'm happy with either.
Okay, I'm going with a dreamer. Which Disney character would you want to be your BFF? Simba, Pocahontas, Carl, Winnie the Pooh, Rapunzel, Mickey Mouse, Wally, Tiana. Who's Carl? I don't even know. Oops.
I don't know.
Rapunzel, Mickey Mouse.
I think Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh. That's yeah. Okay, that was an aspect I wasn't.
Yano, remember when she buys that like toy for the dog, and Yano's like, I know she got this for the dog because it's not alike.
Yeah,
I feel like that's her aesthetic, right?
It's true. Yeah, she has some very interesting choices in cell phone charms and the like.
Yes.
So sure, Winnie the Pooh. Which city would you like to visit? Sydney, Paris, New York City, Tokyo, Rome, Rio de Janeiro, London, Toronto. I mean, Tokyo is like too easy an answer, right?
Do Paris, the city of lovers, right?
Yeah.
She'd want a romantic one.
Yeah. It would only be, she only wants to go to the Tokyo one because that's easy.
Any place with a Disneyland, right?
Yeah. So if she could afford to go to Paris, she totally would go. So pick a Pixar movie. Ratatouille, Brave, Toy Story, Cars, Monsters, Inc., The Incredibles, A Bug's Life, Finding Nemo. Oof. I feel like Ratatouille or Finding Nemo.
Yeah, I was thinking Finding Nemo.
Okay.
But I haven't seen Ratatouille, so I don't know.
You haven't seen Ratatouille?
I haven't seen a lot. I've seen some Pixar, but not a lot of the Pixar.
I have a coworker whose favorite movie is Ratatouille. So, Ratatouille, it's good.
Okay. It'll go on my list.
Yeah. My dream job would be a zookeeper, an artist, a comedian, a children's book author, an astronaut, a restaurant owner, an architect, a world traveler. A world traveler is not a job, I don't think, but okay.
I would say the children's book author because she is into literature.
Yes, she is studying to do English literature.
And she picks a college not for Yano, but for her major.
For herself, which I also was like, thank you.
Yes. But she is a dreamer because then she's like, oh, it'll work out somehow.
Yeah, it'll work out somehow. I mean, I gotta study real hard to improve my score, but it's gonna work out.
Right.
Okay, this is pick a cute animal, which is pictures, but hopefully I can name all the animals because I know animals. Okay. Porcupine, cute little puppy, mouse, cat, elephant, owl, rabbit, or fox. I feel like we have to go with dog because dogs were a point of manipulation in this.
Yeah. And I love that he calls his dog Lalami.
I know. I was like, why is he being so shady when he was describing it to her? She was like, what's its name? And he was like, La? Like, question? I was like, did you not name your dog? And then when she read the tag and it was Lalami, I was like, okay, now I understand. You just didn't want to be embarrassed saying that. Okay. So the answer we got was, you got Fantasyland.
Oh, that sounds right.
You're a dreamer who longs for once upon a time and happily ever after. Accurate. You're a kid at heart who sings Let It Go at the top of your lungs and have probably watched every Disney movie at least 100 times.
Yep.
I agree with this answer.
That's 100% accurate. That's a good quiz.
Good quiz for Nanami. She totally is a Disney otaku. Okay, so then I want to do Shipping Corner, though we have already briefly discussed it. I want to make sure our feelings are very clear in the shipping wars that are many in this manga. So the explicit ships that we have are like Yano with Nana-san, Yano with Nanami, Yano with Yuri.
Boo.
Boo. Then Nana and Takeuchi. Also boo. And I assume that Yano and Nana is kind of like our OTP, like they work well together, but also have the normal troubles of age.
Not Nana-san.
Yeah, not Nana-san. No.
Okay.
I feel like that was not a good relationship, right? Like that was unhealthy.
That was a mess you up for a very long time relationship.
Right. That was a, like, she's cheating on you. She clearly, has bad tastes in dudes because she keeps going back to this guy who hits her. That's no good. Nothing good can come of that. There was also an age difference between Nana-san and Yano that when you're older it doesn't matter, but I feel like when you're that young it does.
Yeah, definitely. I wonder about people who ship other couples. Let's just say that.
You wonder about the people who like Nana and Takeuchi?
People who aren't shipping Nana and Yano, I wonder about.
I mean, I guess if you truly believe that Yano did not get over Nana-san and still just views Nanami as a shadow of her, okay, but I feel like narratively there's enough evidence that that's not true.
Yeah, I was thinking more about the people who want Nanami and Takeuchi. I feel that the people who write off Yano haven't done a deep enough reading.
Yeah, they're just giving him not enough credit, not trusting him enough.
They're just kind of writing him off without really realizing what's going on.
Yeah. I'm very curious if Takeuchi gets... It seems like no, but I'm very curious if he gets more of a personality in the second half, but I guess not.
I like Takeuchi. I just don't think... he's just the guy in there to complicate things, right?
Yeah, he's just the rival.
He's hot all the time.
And then obviously Yano and Yuri, also not a good relationship. I think there's way too much baggage there for that to ever...
Yeah, I don't think you can overcome the past.
Yeah, the past, like, they always talk about how they want to have a present that is better than their past.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, I don't know that you can ever get rid of that one, though. Like, I don't know if you can overcome that, yeah.
Well, the kind of crazy thing is, though, is it's not really about that, right? It's about how much he loved Nana.
Yeah.
And how much he's falling in love with Nanami. He didn't actually have a great time with Nana-san. They have these really kind of, the flashbacks I think are very poignant because in a short span you really see how they interacted with each other just by a few lines and what was going on, because it isn't really explicit, right? You just know things that are happening in the background. But you also know that he's trying so hard to make her happy, but they aren't happy.
Yeah. And there's a lot of talk about that in this manga of, like, everybody wants to be happy, and we always talk about how we want to be happy, and we're not happy.
But you end up getting hurt anyway. There's no way you cannot get hurt.
Yeah. That's why Takeuchi kind of bothers me, because he's always just like, I would never make you, you would always be happy with me. I'm like, you're setting yourself up for failure, my friend. What are you doing?
Yeah, it seems to be. Oh, and there is another ship, right? That's Motoharu, that's Yano and Takeuchi.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, they definitely... My joke always with love triangles is that either it should be both, like the girl should just choose both and be like polyamory, or that the two dudes or like two girls or whoever should get together and stop fighting about the one individual. So yeah, totally. It's Takeuchi and Yano.
I do like that during the confession part of the summer festival that Yano goes to talk to Takeuchi and he's like, I really like you. This is my confession. And showing that they're friends. They really love each other. They're like brothers, right?
Yeah.
So I thought that was rather sweet.
He was like, I love you, right? I love you so much. Now I'm going to have my henchmen tie you up, okay? But just remember that I love you a lot, okay? We'll always have each other, even if this girl doesn't work out.
Yeah, I guess we'll get to it in the second half, but you do have to wonder how much of Takeuchi is love for Nana, and I think he does fall in love with her, but how much is competing with Yano?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what it seems like.
That's what they're doing, right? Like, he kind of always pulls back once push comes to shove when it comes to Nanami, but he's all in it when it's the, fighting against Yano, trying to get to the bus, or, whatever it is.
I love all the bus scenes of, like, people just getting shoved off a bus, like the bus leaving dramatically as people are running away or meeting each other, and it's just like, oh, no. I'm like, wouldn't the bus stop like 2 blocks away? You could just run back, but all right. That's cool. Yeah, so do you have any final thoughts?
I don't think so. I think we've covered pretty much everything, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, my only lingering question is, where can I get all of Yano's silly English shirts? I really wanted to know. I love Yano's wardrobe of just, like, shirts that say Adore and Team USA. Whatever.
Yeah, there's some pretty good fashion in the...
Yeah. This is actually a fashion manga, y'all. Dude fashion is lit. Anyway, so I'm sure we'll have much more to say once we know all the things that go down.
Yeah, I'm so happy you're enjoying it. That's really great.
Oh yes, I'm totally enjoying it. I would stay up late being like, I need to know what happens, but also I need to go to sleep. What a conundrum.
That's the best kind of manga that makes you want to read it all night long.
I know. But also I'm like, I really need it. It's like 1 a.m. I should probably go to sleep.
The manga that makes you lose sleep.
Yeah. That's how you know books are good.
Yes.
When they put you to sleep, you just give up on them.
Right, but if they keep you awake, that's actually, I can't read when I go to sleep at night, because if it is good, I'll just keep reading, So
it's dangerous, yeah.
It's too dangerous for me, and if I don't want to stay up, then it's probably not a good enough book to read in the first place.
There you go, see? That's how you judge. Thanks for listening to Shoujo and Tell. Comments, questions, constructive criticism, concerns, Need to gush about your OTP? Email shoujoandtell@gmail.com or leave a comment on shoujoandtell.com/wewerethere1. We're at Shoujo and Tell on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Nancy, where can listeners find you and all of Viz's stuff?
Yeah, I have a Twitter. I'm N Thistlethwaite, and then I also oversee the Shojo Beat Twitter account and official Tumblr.
Are you excited every time you listen to a new episode of Shoujo and Tell? If so, please consider leaving a rating on iTunes or Stitcher, or wherever else you can leave podcast reviews. This will help the podcast reach more hearts, or at least ears. Thanks again for listening. We'll be back next time for the second half of We Were There. We're going to college, or whatever. Stay tuned. Until then, bye.